Good evening, everyone, and welcome out to Speed Racing Network, where we are here at Darlington for the Throwback 185. My name is Sean Griffith. I'm here with Brandon Domain. Brandon, we've been talking all week about this race because these guys, they've just been slamming this wall left and right, and the Lady in Black is not a happy camper right now.
Definitely not happy, and definitely has a lot of drivers not happy that have gotten to go at least on Thursday in the race after the iRacing issues on Wednesday prevented the truck race for the time being. But yeah, this Darlington racetrack, it's difficult in real life, even more difficult when you don't have that little bit of sensation that you get from actually being behind the wheel of a car. It just makes it that much tougher, and man, it has wreaked havoc on drivers in the Xfinity side and a lot of drivers in practice tonight.
Yeah, it has absolutely been insane this week. So many things happened. I know iRacing had an update. I know just lots of stuff going on out here, and so it's really been difficult for these drivers to kind of get a read on this track.
Yeah, and not too many were able to go into the Xfinity race even on Thursday just because of the full field that was there already. So just not many people that could get a lot of time. Obviously, Darlington was the real-life race last week, so because of that, the official races on the iRacing server were at Darlington for A class, B class, C class, the vehicles that we run here at SRN. So hopefully drivers got a chance to go out there and run those and get some experience around people, because you can run Darlington all day long on by yourself or with a couple cars out there, but you throw 40 cars out on the track at Darlington, it's a whole other story.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to have 40 cars out there, but we should have about 30. But, 145 laps around this thing is daunting in itself. I know there's typically a lot of cautions to deal with here, but because of that, it tends to be a longer race. But, everybody gets their Darlington stripe out here. Everybody hits that wall at some point.
Oh, for sure. Picked up a couple stripes on Thursday. Some assisted, some not. But, 145 laps around here. I know running 110 on Thursday, mentally, I was just exhausted at the end of that thing. And I wasn't even a contender for a win or anything. It was difficult being one of those cars that got caught up in some stuff and just kind of being one of those backmarkers and trying to stay out of the way of the racing that was going on for position on the lead lap and just adding that extra element. But this track, 145 laps, no fast repairs, no margin for error. It is a mentally daunting race for these guys tonight.
Well, you see there on the screen, too, this is week number 9. They've already been racing against each other for 8 weeks. We are fast approaching the playoffs, and so the playoffs start after week 13. I know you and I had a little bit of a discussion earlier where I showed you what it looks like with drop weeks as far as the standings, and we'll talk about that in a second. But these guys, they don't have the luxury of sitting back in this race and just hoping things don't happen. They have to go for it.
Yeah, there's very few guys in this field tonight that are going to be able to just kind of sit back and feel like they don't have to push around this track. And this is a track that you really can't push the other cars around on. It's a very slim margin for error making any pass or even just running a lap around this track. So there's going to be a vast majority of the field that are under some pressure to pick up some points, whether to stay above the cut line or move ahead of that cut line. And so this is going to be a very interesting race. We saw a lot of that desperation on Thursday from some guys. I think we're going to see it even more here in the Cup side.
Oh, definitely. There's going to be people making moves that they typically wouldn't make, and when you combine that with a difficult track, doesn't always work out. But, we do run for 20 weeks per season here. Like I said, the first 13 weeks are the regular season, then we get into the playoffs. We do have fixed setups in this league, so everybody runs exactly the same car, except for, you can make 3 minor adjustments to the car that don't really affect the speed too much. But no fast repairs. So you run what you brung, and if you hit the wall, then you're in some trouble for the rest of the race. And look at those payouts.
Yeah, big payouts here in the Cup Series. It's that $15 a week entry, but you can make a whole lot of money on the back end of this thing. $1,000 to the champion at the end of the season, whoever wins the playoff. But anybody wins the playoff, but anybody that makes the championship 5 going to be pocketing some significant cash as well through that. We also have our team championships. They're going to have our team payout for our champions at the end of the season there. We also got our weekly payouts here that'll add a little bit of money here that can build up pretty quickly.
Yeah, those weekly payouts, basically 3 times your entry fee for the first place there, so $45. Second place gets $30, and then the next 3 get their money back. And in a series like this, where we actually have smaller fields in this series than our other 2 series. Our other 2 series, we average about 40 drivers per race. In this one, we average about 30 drivers per race. And so just having those payouts out there really is enticing to people to stick around.
Yeah, and especially once you get into this portion of the season where there's some guys that know the odds of me making the playoff at this point are pretty slim, if not virtually impossible, due to the points and where everything stands with only a handful of races left. But those weekly payouts, something to keep you coming back, especially, at tracks like this where, Darlington can wreak havoc on the field. You never know what'll happen. Some guys can jump up and surprise. And oh, by the way, next week is another one of those at Talladega. But Darlington, a great example of one of those races where somebody can jump up and snag some money, even though they've been struggling during the season.
Oh, definitely. And as far as season-long payouts, I mean, you do have that $1,000 for first place. But look at the rest of these payouts. If you're in the top 8, you're going to get some money back. And again, in a field of 30 to 32 drivers, being in the top 8, I'm not going to say it's not hard, but if you're consistent, you can get there.
Oh, for sure. And we added this season that 6th, 7th, and 8th payout for the top 3 drivers that didn't quite make the championship 5. So those 3 drivers in that next group of 5, once we get to Atlanta, are going to be getting that payout as well. But yeah, you look at the playoffs, and there's a lot of guys at this point that are just thinking, you know what, just let me get there and get to some of these traditional tracks that we get in the playoff. And maybe it can shake up that field a little bit. We saw it a couple times last season, some underdogs making their way through the field and banking some significant money at the end of it.
Oh, absolutely. Now, if you need some help to bank some of that money, then you need to get a coach. And we have one of the best ones that's affiliated with Speed Racing Network, Kane Cook. He is up there in the Coca-Cola Series, which they are racing for $300,000. And he can teach you all the ins and outs of iRacing. All you got to do is go to speedracingnetwork.com and book some time with him.
And a lot of options there as well. If you want to get an entire team to work with Kane, that's available also. Or if you just want a couple people to do it, kind of split that cost and work with them, you got that option as well. But you're definitely going to get a lot more out of that one-on-one session. And Kane, as good as he is, there's a lot of times where people that are really good at what they do may not necessarily be the best coach. You kind of look at like Wayne Gretzky in hockey, the greatest player of all time, goes into being a coach, and the teams just struggled. It just didn't click. But with Kane, working with him during the offseason, breaks everything down so well, just very easy to work with. Cannot recommend him enough for anybody that wants to build some skills in iRacing.
Here's how I equate it. So a lot of people call this a game. A lot of people call this a simulation. Either way, however you want to call it, whatever wording you use, every game or simulation has secrets to make you better at that game or simulation. And this guy knows all of them. And so if you need that secret code book, this guy's the one that's got it. So definitely go to speedracingnetwork.com, book your time with Kane Cook, and get a little bit better at getting around these tracks. But Brandon, it is time for one of my favorite segments every single week. It's the Beer of the Week, brought to you by Beer Street Journal. And I think we got a pretty good one this week. This week's Beer Street Journal Beer of the Week comes from Orpheus Brewing in Atlanta, Georgia. Last year, we all missed Orpheus Brewing's 6-year anniversary thanks to the pandemic. But now it's their 7-year anniversary, and in true Orpheus fashion, they aren't just releasing one anniversary beer, they're releasing 7. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to go through all 7 of them here, so we'll just pick one out from the bunch. It's called Stouts All the Way Down, Volume 16. It's an imperial stout aged in Heaven Hill bourbon barrels. Flavor-wise, it's aged with honey roasted peanuts and strawberries, so you should get a bunch of those flavor tones. So be on the lookout for Stouts All the Way Down by Orpheus Brewing. And be sure to check out the other 6 beers being released by Orpheus Brewing as well. You can find a full list and breakdown of those beers on beerstreetjournal.com. The Beer of the Week is brought to you by beerstreetjournal.com, the leading online publication in craft beer reviews. Go to beerstreetjournal.com to find your next great beer. And as always, you must be 21 to enjoy, and please drink responsibly. That's right. Orpheus Brewing stouts all the way down, volume 16. And again, that's only one of 7 beers they're putting out for their 7th anniversary. A lot of these breweries, they'll put out an anniversary beer. This company goes far and beyond that, that criteria. They put out 7 beers for their 7th anniversary.
Sounds like a good excuse to get one of those flights and taste a whole lot of them. And turns out, that's an Atlanta company, so definitely one that I'll have to check out. Have not been there yet, but that's a good pitch for me to get down there, make that drive over, about a half hour away from me. Actually, just kind of Googled it, and might have to go check them out and try this one. Do enjoy a bourbon barrel aged beer there for sure.
Well, as always, we do appreciate Beer Street Journal for their sponsorship. We appreciate all of our sponsors. And as always, if you are looking for your next great beer or just some really good articles about different beers and brewing techniques and that sort of thing, go to beerstreetjournal.com for all that information. But let's look over here really quick at the cut line. This is the top 15. Now, keep in mind, these are without drop weeks included. Every driver gets 3 drop weeks for the first 12 weeks, basically. And so these are without the drop weeks. Next week, we will start showing the standings with drop weeks. And I will tell you right now, and Brandon, you've seen it, if we included drop weeks right now, James Holzer's not our leader.
Yeah, amazingly enough, as impressive as he has been, and we're only looking at a couple finishes outside of the top 2, but Landon Lacy has been just as impressive, and the only reason that gap's there is because he had a late start to the season. He started the season in the Xfinity Series, so got a great battle there for the point lead between those 2 next-level teammates, but don't look too far because everybody that you're seeing there in that top 7 still holding up there in the top 7, even with the drop weeks included. They've been very good all season long, so this battle a lot tighter than it seems based on what you see here.
Actually, just taking a glance back and forth, I think all the top 15 are the same top 15 in the standings with the drop weeks included, just kind of a little bit shuffled. So these top 15, very, very solid. They're all here every single week, which is important, obviously. But, a couple names that really stick out to me. I mean, first, look at Next Level Motorsports. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got all 5 drivers in this top 15.
And not only the top 15, they got them all in the top 10, which incredible performance from them this season. And you look at Tank, they have 3 drivers in there. Murray Reedy Smith has 3 drivers in there. Rev'd has a couple drivers in there as well. So we're seeing the top 4 teams really putting their claim to the individual side of things as well, and it really shows why the teams have broken out the way that they have.
Now, outside the cut here, we've got a few drivers out here that we absolutely love watching. Emerson Ardon, a good friend of the broadcast, he is right there on that cut line, just needs a couple better finishes, and he did pretty well here on Thursday.
Did very well on Thursday, getting that podium finish in that race, and that was a difficult race with the way that kind of flowed. Another name I'm really looking at as somebody that's starting to build a lot of momentum, making his way up in the point standings, is Max Service, actually another one of those tank racing drivers, sitting in 22nd. He's starting to get that momentum going. And I also look at guys like John Honeycutt, Michael Politis, Craig Lautenschlager, just guys that have, Bo Brady, another one, guys that have had a lot of speed, just have had a lot of unfortunate breaks, but they're still in this thing once you add in those drop weeks and still available to possibly make that charge into the top 15.
So definitely keep on the lookout as we go week to week here as those drop weeks get included, because that's going to shake a lot of things up. And so we'll definitely stay on top of that and keep you informed of what is going on there. But if you look at the team standings, no drop weeks in the team standings. Next Level Motorsports is running away with it.
Yeah, and the big thing to keep in mind with this too, we do have that playoff format that we're starting with the teams as well once we get to week 13. So this is all for seeding once we get to that point. So all this is going to be erased. But Next Level Motorsports and Tank Racing, they will have an important bye week at this point, and then it'll be Murray Reedy Smith Road Racing against Stryker, Rev'd against R&D if it finishes as it stands right now.
Definitely, and let's introduce everybody to some of these teams with our team introductions. And of course, we will start off with our leaders, Next Level Motorsports. And I mean, domination is the only word that you could possibly come up with.
Domination. I know we've used all-star team to talk about this, and they really just came together after the rebrand and put together possibly an even stronger team than already was in place originally. But you look at Timothy Latham in the 5, Gabriel Ellison in the 27, Nick Gowen in the 88, all looking for their first win of the season, but all have been very good on the tracks when they are out there. And James Holzer with 2 wins, Landon Lacy with 3 of the last 4 wins on this team as well.
I mean, if you look at this list, anytime you have a list with Timothy Latham, Gabriel Ellison, and Nick Gowen on it, and none of them have wins, that is surprising. Just because they are just that good. Last season, Timothy Latham won the first 2 races of the Cup Series, so this is not something that's common for them to not have a win yet. And who knows? We could get to week 13, and all 5 of these guys have win stickers next to their name.
Very possible, and it's also possible we get to the final race of the season in Atlanta and all 5 of these guys make up the championship 5. That wouldn't be out of the question with how as competitive as this team has been.
Yeah, and I mean, truly that is a possibility, but Tank Racing might have something to say about it, as they've got some drivers that last season they were good, they just didn't have the entire team around them. Now they do, and now they are great.
They have really turned around into a very threatening team when it comes to the team title at the end of the season. Joshua Balliet in the 7, Reese Schaefer in the 17, Emerson Ardon in the 57, Seth Berger in the 77, and Max Service in the 81. And at some point every single week we bring up each and every one of these guys because they're doing something good on the racetrack. They have had a great season thus far.
You know, I really think that we need to watch out for Emerson Ardon because, again, he placed second here last week, or not last week, on Thursday in the Xfinity cars. Now, I get it. It's a different car and stuff like that, but just knowing your way around this track is important.
And he's really good at the odd racetracks, the road courses, the Poconos, and that kind of plays into Darlington as well. It's just a unique racetrack, and that's something Emerson does really well.
Next up, we got Murray Reedy Smith Road Racing, and yes, that name does sound long. They were kind of thrown together at the last second, but they've really gelled together well, as they do have that team that has 3 drivers up there in the top 15 right now.
Yeah, they have been very, very good, and the name that jumps off on the page is the defending champion in the 64, Scott Healy. But you look around him, you have Austin Reedy in the 1, Kyle Benson in the 10, Craig Lautenschlager in the 13, and John Honeycutt in the 50. Reedy and Benson have been just as strong as Healy for a lot of this season. Lautenschlager and Honeycutt have put together some good runs and then just kind of get snake bit at times. But this whole team is, if they can get the momentum and really get together where all 5 of them start having good performances week in, week out, once the playoffs come, they could be the sleeper team.
Next up, we got Rev'd Racing, and Rev'd has had teams that are really good throughout all 3 of this series. This team right now, they're kind of starting to fall behind a little bit. They're just kind of they've got a couple of drivers out there that are up there in the top 15, but it's just really been a difficult season for them.
Yeah, and a lot of that too is just, the teams that are sitting 1-2 just continue to just dominate the top 10 positions, so it's hard to break through into that top 10, but they have guys that have done it. Kyle Spies, Scott Kalal, Dalton Tucker shown a lot of pace this season. And then you have Byron McDonald in the 9 this week. That's a little bit different. And Christopher L. Lawrence in the 99. That whole team is very complete. It's just they're just behind Tank and Next Level, that when it comes to getting those top 10 spots, it's just hard to break through.
Yeah, they're just looking for that breakthrough race, but another team that a little bit of a smaller team now. So R&D Motorsports, they've really kind of done some shifting throughout the season of drivers and that sort of thing, but they're led by David Duke, who is right there on that cut line. So he is inside that playoffs right now. Really needs to bring these other guys along, though.
Yeah, and alongside him, he'll have Brian Mabry in the 15, Jordan Sailors in the 55, Chad Wampler in the 87, and Joshua Siegfried in the 60. So this is a team that, they've gotten together these last few weeks, really started to kind of gel together. They were one of the last teams to really be complete. Looking forward to see how they progress as a team here in the next few weeks.
Well, this team is last place in the standings right now, but be careful. Don't underestimate them at all, because they do have one driver at least, Raul Meza, who is right on the cut line if you take drop weeks into account. So Bo Brady's an incredible driver as well, so he is up towards there.
Yeah, and you know, this is 3 drivers inside the next 10 positions behind the cut line are here on strikers, so they're threatening to make that playoff. You'll have Mike Lewis in the 05, Bo Brady in the 19, Raul Meza in the 37, Kyle Johnson in the 48, Joe Ruggles Jr. in the 96.
And we do have 3 independent drivers out there tonight. We do have Blair Holloman, Michael Politis, and Dean Brummett himself. And Dean Brummett is one of those drivers that, even though he is an independent this season, he is pushing for that title.
And he's threatening it for sure. You know, you're looking at somebody that's in the top 8 in the point standings, putting together a real good season, and that's difficult to do when you're by yourself. You don't have anybody to share resources with or kind of go and compare against. He's just out there on an island and just showing how good he can be, even by himself.
Well, let's get out there on the track as qualifying has wrapped up. So we've got Max Service from Tank Racing up in the top spot. Dalton Tucker in second for Rev Racing. And then take a look at Next Level after that.
Yeah, they have the next 3 spots. Landon Lacy in third, Nick Gowen in fourth, Timothy Latham in fifth. And then outside on row 3 is going to be Austin Reedy, the top qualifier for Murray Reedy Smith Road Racing.
The champ, Scott Healy, is in 7th on the 4th row there. So Reese Schaefer from Tank Racing in 8th. John Honeycutt in 9th. And then Dean Brummett himself there in 10th.
And then row 6, we'll have Joshua Balliet for Tank Racing. In the 11th position outside row 6, Kyle Benson, one of those guys that has shown a lot of speed here this season. He'll be rounding out our top 12. Only about 0.2 of a second separating our top 12. Around a difficult track, you can typically see a lot of separation when it comes to times, but this is actually pretty close.
Well, fun week this week, because anytime we come to Darlington, we do our throwback week. And so some of these paint schemes are going to be a little bit interesting. Max Service with kind of an older style paint scheme there on the outside. Dalton Tucker kind of in his just regular paint scheme. But we've got a few of them out here. I believe Landon Lacy's in one, just a little bit different. Nick Gowen, you know, back there. So, I mean, just there you go. That's a Terry Labonte throwback, I believe.
I mean, there's a handful of drivers that ran that one. Terry Labonte, the first one. I also had Casey Kane, Kyle Busch running that similar car as well. So pretty cool. I like the throwback week a lot. It's so much fun seeing how creative some of these guys get and some of the drivers that influence them when it comes to racing and how they want to use this throwback week to honor them.
Yeah, and you think that this is just kind of a fun deal and stuff like that. We actually had a driver in the Xfinity Series, Stan Hausman, who posted his throwback car, and the actual driver of the car in NASCAR actually liked the post. So you just never know, man. You never know who you're going to find out there.
I was a little jealous. I tried to get Tony Stewart's attention. It didn't quite work, but congrats to Stan on getting Rick Mast's attention there. That's a good one.
And here we go. We're going to get that green flag out. Max Service is going to lead the way as the green flag flies and they take off. Now, Dalton Tucker on the outside gets a great jump, and that outside line is typically the preferred line here.
Yeah, he did. They get a good jump, and you can see that outside line really building up that momentum quickly. And it's not even so much just pure speed around the turn. It's mostly that you just don't trust it if you're on the inside, because it wants to throw you into that wall when you make that exit. Even if you're not side by side, if you are side by side, that margin of error just gets super slim, and it really makes you hesitate, especially knowing that you have no fast repairs to bail you out.
Well, here at this track, you can step away from the front without really being drawn back in too quickly, and that is exactly what Dalton Tucker is doing. He is stepping out, stepping away, and if we get a long green flag run, we're going to see a lot of different strategies out there.
For sure, and you're also looking at, you got about 40 laps or so on a fuel run here, and I think most importantly is the tire run on this, because I think the tires are going to go much quicker than the fuel will, really, and the drop-off is going to be significant, but 40 laps on the fuel run, so you're looking at least 3 stops being mandatory in this race, but the time differential on those laps, once you have all that tire fall off, that could make it where you might see guys faster in the long run making a 4th stop, a 5th stop, depending on how the race goes. But one thing to keep in mind, 6 sets of tires in this race for these guys over the 145 laps on a very, very cheese grater-like surface.
Yeah, John Honeycutt, it looks like he got into that outside wall. He is down really slow on the inside. A lot of these cars had already lined out, so he's just going to get back in line and hopefully get that car back up to speed.
Saw another one get real sideways. Wasn't sure who that was out of turn number 2. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of drivers here just navigating the early state on this track. We talk about how it just wears the tires out so much. The South Carolina asphalt picks up all that dirt that comes in, all that stuff. It's just real rough, real aged surface, and iRacing did a good job of recreating that. But even so, early on these runs, it takes a handful of laps for you to really get the heat in the tires and really start trusting yourself, especially through 1 and 2, where it just feels real slick.
You know, one of the guys that's basically on the cut line, Raul Meza, back here in 26. That's exactly where he started. And this might be a strategy for him where he just kind of sits back and waits. You know, but if we get good green flag laps out, then we will have a lot of these cars kind of space out about as much distance as he has there to 25th place Blair Holloman. And if that happens, we're not going to see any cautions.
He's got to be very careful of that. And I understand what he's trying to do. By just sitting back there and just being patient, you know, you expect a lot of drivers to get into the wall, pick up some damage, start falling off pace, or even just really start pushing too hard. You get the jitters early on in the race, the adrenaline just makes you want to go a little bit harder than you should, and that doesn't take long for those tires to really burn up when you do that around this track. But you're right, he does have to be very, very careful. He's already 10 seconds behind our leader, and Dalton Tucker, and so for him being in that spot, you're already about a third of a lap back in just 8 laps around this 1.25-mile track. So it's real easy to fall that lap behind if you let that get a little too out of hand.
You know, let's move up just a little ways to James Holzer up here in 12th. Kind of an odd position for him. He started off in 18th position. And that is very, very rare to see something like that. There's a lot of space between, behind him and in front of him, a couple seconds both ways. So not sure what's going on with James Holzer there, but he is up 6 spots, but he's not used to being this far behind.
No, and it makes you wonder. If something happened in qualifying, if you make contact with the wall, it will delete your lap time. I know he had a lap in there, so maybe he just got loose off a turn or something like that and just kind of lost a little bit of time. But you look at him here, he's sitting behind that top 11 by a good 2.5 seconds, but then behind him he's so far checked out away from those the other half of the field basically. That's kind of an odd one to figure out what's going on there, but it definitely shows that his lap time not falling off a whole lot compared to the leaders. So maybe he just kind of got stuck in that no man's land where he got around some of those cars, but by the time he did it, the rest of the field kind of checked out, and he's just deciding, you know what, I'm just going to settle in here.
Well, while you were talking about James Holzer there up front, we had a pass for second place. Nick Gowen and Landon Lacy both passed Max Service, and so Max Service will drop back to 4th position as a couple of Next Level Motorsports move up on the rank boards.
And yeah, not too much of a shock there, seeing Next Level make their way up through the field here. Gowen in 2nd, Lacy in 3rd. And Latham sitting in 5th still. So Next Level starting to do what they do these past few weeks, just really putting together some pretty dominant performances. But speaking of dominant, we're only 11 laps in. It's 2.1 seconds the lead for Dalton Tucker, who is absolutely checked out early.
Well, hey, we didn't talk about who our picks were for this race. I'm going to let you know right now. I'm taking Dalton Tucker. It's actually before the race, you and I had talked. My pick for this race actually was Dean Brummett. He loves these kind of shorter than 1.5 mile tracks, and I just feel like he is one of those cars that he can move up throughout the race as the number 10 of Kyle Benson gets into the wall right in front of him.
That was a pretty hard shot into that one. That definitely still fits in the stripe territory, not in the pancake territory for getting around this track. But that was a pretty decent shot there against that turn 4 wall for Kyle Benson. Dean Brummett running that very different looking car. That's because that's a Buddy Baker inspired paint scheme there for Dean Brummett. So like the throwback, like your pick there as well. I went with a similar theory, though, for my pick here in this one, and just going up a couple spots is Kyle Benson again up against the wall. But I'm going to go with Austin Reedy in that one car, and it's largely based off of last season. Had a strong finish at Darlington in the race last season, and also had a very clean race in the process. Spent a little bit of time up front. I think he can kind of recreate that, even though already sitting about 5 seconds back, but still plenty of time left in this one.
Oh, yeah, lots of time, and you never know what's going to happen. We've still got, 130 laps to go, and no cautions yet, which is excellent. I'm knocking on wood right now. You can't see it or hear it, but that is exactly what I'm doing because we love green flag racing here.
Absolutely love it, and let's watch Max Service continuing to hold on to that 4th spot just ahead of Timothy Latham, who's going to take a peek on the inside. Not necessarily the place you want to be doing that, and there might have been a little bit of contact as Max Service got real squirrely off too. He's going to lose 1 spot, 2 spot, might lose more. So they're starting to line up to the outside of him, and that's a tough spot to be in, your Max Service. I know I spent a little bit of time there getting kind of pinned down on the inside, and it's just so hard to recover speed when you're trapped down there.
Yeah, and he will eventually get in front of Scott Healy, last season's champion there. Scott been super consistent all season long, just has not quite gotten that win yet, but I fully expect it.
It's due for Scott Healy, and even last season, he really kind of just built up momentum as the season went and really just caught fire late in the season, and it led to that championship win at Texas, where he really controlled that race for the most part. Once we got to about 25, 30 laps in, it was all Scott Healy. So he's shown that he's able to win not only championships as well as the race itself to pull that off. As speaking of cars getting momentum, nobody has more momentum than Landon Lacy. 3 wins in the last 4 races, and he said that Darlington he wasn't really looking forward to, but here he is up to 2nd place. So I think that might have been that little bit of that humility showing up there for a driver that's been red hot.
Yeah, Lacy is pretty much good in any car you put him in. He's proven that down in the Xfinity Series as well as this series, as well as in the Truck Series for a couple of races that he dropped down there. So just really, really an incredible driver. I know he practices on his craft all day long. This is something that he takes extremely seriously. But, man, out there in 2nd place. But can he track down Dalton Tucker? I just don't know if anybody's got it.
And that lead has grown significantly. It's gone up about 1.1 seconds since the last time we checked in 5 laps ago. So you're looking at 0.2 a lap quicker. And it's not like Lacy and Gowen were really racing hard. That was just a quick pass that happened there, possibly communication between teammates to kind of flip those spots because they didn't really push each other around too much or lose time any more than they have been. It's just been pretty consistent. In fact, add another 0.2 second here on the interval this time by. So Dalton Tucker has found something, and he is absolutely cruising around this Darlington racetrack.
Let's flip gears a little bit. And, as he touches the wall, it looked like. But let's flip gears just a little bit to the team aspect of this. The reason that Next Level Motorsports is so incredible on the team aspect is look what they're doing right now. The points leader right now is not even actually, he is in the top 10 now. He's in 9th place now. But there are 3 cars from Next Level Motorsports sitting in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th positions. So even when the top driver himself isn't having the best day, 3 other guys pick up the slack.
And we saw a perfect example last week, too, at Pocono. Just watching how they controlled that race, we saw a lot of time where the top 4, or at least 4 of the top 5, were next level drivers, and the communication that they had, the way that they were making passes around each other, and even using it to conserve a little bit of fuel, and just working with the team strategy. It was absolutely beautiful what they were doing. It was just seamless. There were so few mistakes made. They weren't costing each other time. It was just, you couldn't run a more perfect race than they did last week. It was a great example of what teams can do when they get together.
Well, now we have Austin Reedy passing Timothy Latham to get into 4th position to kind of break up that team aspect a little bit, as Austin Reedy is now on the move. Reese Schaefer putting on a lot of pressure on Timothy Latham.
Reese Schaefer has done a great job this season, and we talk about a couple of these guys that have been building momentum over the past few races. Reese Schaefer has had it all season long. I remember bringing him up, and before we even knew who he was, at Daytona in our first race of the season, and he's up there running for the win late in that race before we had all that chaos start happening near the end of it, and just ever since then, he has been up near the front for a lot of these races, had a couple of moments where things just out of his control happened and it kind of set him back a few spots, but really he has been one of the best drivers all season long, and arguably, I would say, the third or fourth most consistent driver all season long.
Yeah, and you can see how he's having to baby that car into the corner. He'll start to speed up just a hair and then slow back down again to get that car to turn. So definitely tires wearing away quickly here.
Oh, we got one sideways, and the caution is out. Scott
Healy.
Healy was turned around.
So last season's champion turned around on the track. Not sure how much damage he has there. I believe I see some. We'll have to take a close. Oh, yeah, he's definitely got some damage.
I wasn't sure if he caught the wall or not. I kind of got to him looking at my alternate view a little bit late, and it looked like he might have just spun it, but definitely made some contact there, possibly against the wall. But honestly, a little bit surprised that the caution came out for that, a single car spin towards the inside. But we'll take a look here, see if there's something extra to it on the Beer Street Journal rec replay as he gets hard into the wall and tries to, he definitely tried to pull it off the wall, and it just caught and really just kind of turned that car around real quick. But he got it back going, and man, I got to tell you, I'm a little bitter because I had something similar happen on a Thursday. Didn't get the caution, but Scott Healy gets blessed by the iRacing gods, gets the caution on that one.
I think the only reason the caution came out was because he was right in front of two other cars. Yes. And so because he was in that line, because we did see a couple of cautions also where somebody was so far back in the pack, they could be completely sideways on the track, and iRacing wouldn't throw the caution just because there was nobody in danger. But right now, let's go down into pit road because everybody needs to pit, and they are all doing it right now.
Without question, everybody was going to pit. I would be shocked if anybody stays out throughout the entire caution. Maybe to lead a lap here during this caution, but everybody going to need to pit. We're near the end of the fuel run anyway, and this is a long crawl on this pit road, and I think everybody's going to be happy.
Oh, a couple people miss.
3 guys that missed that one and had to back it up, so this might shake up the running order here after a 3.5-second lead was built up for Dalton Tucker. Let's see if he hangs on to the lead, having to back it up, lose about a half second or so. First one up to speed actually looked like Austin Reedy. It's going to be close, but Dalton Tucker going to hang on to the lead, but Reedy going to jump up to second.
Yeah, now a couple of people have stayed out. So Byron McDonald and Raul Meza have both stayed out on 26-lap old tires here. Again, this could be a strategy call for Byron to just get that extra bonus point. I'm not really sure exactly what the strategy is, except for track position is king here, as I believe Raul Meza is going to pull off, and he's going to go into pit road now.
And I would imagine Byron will too, but he actually does not make that move. So this is real aggressive for Byron McDonald, but he is going to lead the lap this time. He did not lead the lap last time around because he was far enough back that by the time he got to the line, Dalton Tucker already crossed it. So Byron McDonald going to be our second race leader of the night now officially as he leads lap number 27. But I'll say it. I hope he comes in, A, because that's just real worn tires. B, and it looks like he might have asked to let everybody by, and he's going to come down. But yeah, that's real old tires. It's also, you only got about 12 laps left on the fuel run, so you're going to have to pit eventually anyway here. So thinking he was just trying to stay out for that lap lead, and yeah, he did just ask and was granted an EOL penalty to let everybody by.
Yeah, those of you that have been watching every single week, you'll notice he's in a different car. He's in a different number right now. And so he said that the number 3 just wasn't working out for him, and so he's going to try out the number 9 and see if maybe a little bit better luck.
He definitely has a different paint scheme every week, so we're going with a different number here this week. And this one actually fitting. He's got the Jeff Burton old X-Side throwback from the early 2000s. And why not, instead of the 99, go with the 9 and see what happens here as we're back to green flag racing. That was a quick turnaround there.
That was a really kind of quick caution. Anyway, so Dalton Tucker still with that lead. Nick Goin second, Landon Lacy in third, and Austin Reedy, who had a great pit stop there, came out in fourth.
And already starting to pull away is Dalton Tucker, nearly 0.7 of a second away from second place Landon Lacy, 0.6 of a second coming off of turn 4 after just one lap around here. I don't know what Dalton Tucker has found, but whatever it is potent because he has been on rails all night.
And take a look at this, 2x2 in the back here. And so that is really tough to do for a long period of time, but it looks like everybody will get sorted out as we see Blair Holloman kind of lead that pack away. Going back just a little bit further, taking a look at Joshua Siegfried here, I've got to point this out because I absolutely love this paint scheme.
Good old Metallica, and you know what? On Throwback Week, we just had the 30th anniversary of the Black Album. A little bit surprised we didn't get a Black Album inspired one here, but that Metallica paint scheme every week, always love seeing that one. Metal guy myself, so definitely happy seeing Metallica on a car. He's got the Master of Puppets on it. This time is Dean Brummett taking a look to the inside. And 3 and 4, that's the spot where you can make a pass in a turn and not have it be too sketchy. 1 and 2, real tight to do it. 3 and 4, got some room.
Yeah, Dean Brummett makes that pass, but he is all the way back in 20th position after getting some damage repaired on pit road. So he has got a lot of work to do. Moving up just a little ways, we've got a lot of stuff shuffling out up here as Reese Schaefer goes down to the inside of Timothy Latham to try to take away the 6th spot.
I wasn't sure if Latham was trying to throw a block or if he got loose off a 2 and kind of chased down Schaefer a little bit farther inside than intended, but they definitely used up a lot of real estate down that wide back straightaway going into 3, and that actually kind of pinched off and slowed the run for Reese Schaefer a little bit. So he couldn't get that drive into turn 3 a whole lot, and that let Latham hold on to that 6th position as we watch them come back into turn 3, and yeah, Schaefer really likes running that wall line around 3 and 4, but he kind of, Latham likes doing that. Schaefer kind of runs about a half groove down, closer towards that second seam, which that's kind of where I was a little bit more comfortable. I felt like there was a little bit more grip, but you get a little bit more speed if you run up near that wall.
You know, we talked a little bit earlier about how James Holzer was behind, and now he is up into the top 5. So anytime we talk bad about Holzer, it's just an invitation for him to get another top 5 finish.
And no surprise, he has picked up the most spots on track, going from 18th all the way up to 5th. Looking through the field, I think only one other driver has made up more than 10 spots, and that would be Blair Holloman, who's up into the 15th position after starting in 25th. So James Holzer, challenge was accepted after starting back in 18th, and he's made some pretty quick work, just taking 35 laps to get into the top 5. As we check in on Blair Holloman and the Checkers 06 car sitting behind Bo Brady, and possibly looking to set that up for a move into 14th to be his 11th position gained. Oh, we got loose there off 4, though.
You know, if I ever do a team on iRacing, I really think that my team is going to be the fast food team. Checkers, great fast food. I'll have a Taco Bell car out there. You know, I'll have a Chick-fil-A car out there. I mean, I'm going to have all the fast food cars.
Oh, whoa, speaking of fast, there's some fast reactions there. So a lot of drivers start getting loose off of 2 and everybody's scrambling, but I don't mind your idea there. We've seen plenty of beer cars out there. You don't see a whole lot of fast food cars. You see like McDonald's, but other than that, you don't get a whole lot of them out there in racing. So I'd be all for that one.
Chick-fil-A, if you would like to sponsor us, you just let us know. So the problem is we drive on Sundays. And so,
yeah, I was just thinking.
So, all right, as another car kind of steps out back there, I believe, I'm trying to figure out exactly who that is back there. I believe that, that was Jordan Sailors in the 55.
Yeah, that's a real classic-looking car, too, but it's so easy off of turn 2. Just to lose that little bit of grip. Saying earlier, once you exit 2, even if you, and you'll watch here with Jordan Sailors, he's going to kind of arc this turn down and try to get down towards that white dotted line and then drift it up. But you do that at the last second to try to kind of sweep into that so you can fight that urge that the car has to want to just get thrown up against that wall. And because of that, it's so hard. If you have to really kind of give that a little bit more, trying to hang on to it, the car just wants to get real loose and overdrive getting out of that turn, and it wants to just snap it around. As he got into the wall there pretty good on entry through turn 1, and that's going to affect his line here, and that might give Scott Healy an opportunity to get some momentum and get by, but it's just so hard making your way out of turn 2. Aside from that, the track not as difficult, but that turn is just so hard to make yourself through and pick up some momentum in the process.
You know, as we take a look at Scott Healy making this pass here and gaining one more position, going back up front, Dalton Tucker has not been able to break away nearly as much as he did last time around. Now, Landon Lacy did just scrape the wall, so that may help a little bit, but Tucker at this point was up to 3 seconds when we last checked into him. Now he's down to 1.25, so has not been able to pull away nearly as much.
Part of that could be that he didn't like where his tire percentages were in terms of wear after that last pit stop, and really kind of pushing early on in that run as he's approaching Byron Mcdonald, who's about 10 seconds behind Raul Meza in 25th. That goes to tell you how much those tires are important here on this track, as he was the only one that stayed out. But yeah, for Dalton, I think part of it is he might be conserving those tires a little bit more, seeing that, you know, there's not a whole lot of side-by-side racing going on. Maybe the opportunity for cautions is lower. I'm not going to say it won't happen. I'm not going to throw that out there. But it's a lower percentage chance of a caution happening, and we might see some long runs tonight, so he could be saving it. Part of it, too, Landon Lacy not having to fight to get through position gains on track like he did on that first start, where he was a couple spots back, had to make some moves out there, lose a little bit of time in that process. So I think it's a combination of those factors.
Yeah, as we see Landon Lacy getting by Byron Mcdonald as well. Byron Mcdonald, the only car not on the lead lap after not pitting yet. And so he is going to have to come down. He is hoping for a caution so he can kind of catch back up, but it's not going to happen, I don't believe.
No, and even at this point, being the lucky dog, he's going to be in trouble anyways. Austin Reedy, it looks like he might have gotten into the wall, or maybe just let James Holzer by at this point. Maybe not liking just how things are setting up there, but he did kind of move in there. And I hear James Holzer on the driver chat saying thank you, so that might have been Reedy just giving up that position here. So we still got over 100 laps to go. Patience still very important around this track. Might just not have liked how he was having to push that car around.
Yeah, as it looks like Joshua Siegfried kind of slowing up a little bit back here. Jordan Sailors into the wall, I believe, but he dives into the pits, just goes ahead and tows it. I think his night might be done.
Oh, it's Landon Lacy. Just he either got into the wall or got real loose off of turn 4. Saw him near the inside wall and lost about a half second there in the process. And that also is going to reel Nick going in towards his back bumper now, only about 2/3 of a second behind. Think he just got real loose off of 4, which is the lesser of those two that you can see that happen, but it still can, especially if you kind of get there at an awkward angle on the exit. See how he handles it this time, and that was very smooth. So definitely figured it out, and just like a one-off issue there, but that's a big time difference lost for Landon Lacy after that event there in turn 4.
Dean Broman makes the pass on John Honeycutt here to move into 16th position. So, again, after getting a little bit of damage repaired, you can still see some damage on that car. But after getting some damage repaired, he is trying to work his way back forward again.
That car is a handful there for Brummett. You saw him just sawing that wheel around 1 and 2. So, definitely not liking the feel of it, as it looked real loose on turn 1 and 2. And we'll say it all night. 1 and 2 is the real tricky spot. 3 and 4, a little bit easier to get around. It's the wider of the turns, just the more natural version of the turns, I should say. In turn 1 and 2, it's bumpy, it's awkward. And Jeff Burton actually on the broadcast last week actually said a great point where it's almost like you have turn 1, a mini straightaway, and then you have turn 2. You continue to arc it, but there's this little straight portion in there that just kind of throws off your line, just makes it real difficult to get around there. And then you have that exit on turn 2. Just that whole setup, as we watch James Holzer move into third, that whole setup there with 1 and 2 is just so awkward to get around.
Yeah, and you can actually hear it if we go on board, and let's go ahead and go on board with James Holzer here. As you get into 1 and 2, as he's going to cross the start-finish line, you will hear him kind of, let off the throttle a little bit going into 1. Then he'll start to kind of speed up a little bit. You can hear the speed go back up right now, and then he'll have to get right back off of it again.
And this is also 20 laps into a tire run where you're not able to be as aggressive on it. If we do this again, second, third lap on a run, I wouldn't say the first one just because of how cold the tires will be, but you get that 2, 3, 4 laps into a run, you'll hear it even more because you can be more aggressive on it. But yeah, when Jeff Burton said that on the broadcast, it clicked, and it's something that you feel going around the track, but you never really think about. And yeah, it's very much like this is a 3-turn track almost, where you have 1, 2, and then 3 and 4 are their own thing.
Yeah, we're zoomed in here on Joshua Balliet in the Shrek car. So, again, another throwback there. Obviously, haven't seen a Shrek movie here in a little while, or at least a new one. Hey, DreamWorks, can you get on that, please?
Yeah, and I want to say this might have been a Joey Logano car, I think, that he had a special one-off there when a Shrek movie was released. Definitely remember it being a 20 car, so that's an obscure one, though, to be honest, so well done on him for getting that one made and thinking of that one, because when I saw that one posted in the Discord, that one caught me way off guard.
Yeah, I mean, just the color scheme, really, it is so much fun during this. Oh, as we get a nice turn off the wall there of Kyle Benson in the 10. But what I was saying was, I mean, everybody is so creative in this league, and the paint section of our Discord channel is insane. I mean, some of the paints that these guys come up with, some of the talent that these guys have designing these things are just incredible.
For sure, and it came across all 3 leagues, and sadly, because of the iRacing issue with their server on Wednesday, we weren't able to do this with the trucks just yet. We will have that race made up in November, where we can see all those throwbacks.
No, that's this week. That's this
we're going to do it.
Yeah, we're doing it this Wednesday. So we're moving Talladega.
Awesome.
So for the Truck Series, we're going to move Talladega into the playoffs and take one of the bye weeks out of the playoffs. So next week we will have this coming Wednesday, we will have the Truck Series here at Darlington. So we'll be able to see all of those throwbacks.
Totally misunderstood all that. So yeah, awesome. We'll get the throwbacks there coming up, and I know there's a lot of good truck ones that are coming, and we even got some truck-inspired ones here in this field on the Cup side tonight. But yeah, can't wait for that on Wednesday. Definitely, a shout out to everybody in the Truck Series and everybody that's in charge of SRN being, quick on their feet with that issue. It was something that came from iRacing, and just with that update, things just did not work, and we have our own virtual rain delay of sorts, and having to push back that race. And thanks to everybody in the league for being flexible with that.
Yeah, definitely. It was a difficult night for the admins trying to figure out what was the best way to do it. We had a stroke of luck where we had planned on a 2-week bye, so 2 weeks of buys in the playoffs. One of those being due to I have a vacation with my family, and the other one doing Thanksgiving. But luckily enough, I will not be leaving until Thursday, and so we were able to use Wednesday night that bye for that week and push everything back. So it worked out really, really well. The iRacing gods were definitely on our side on that, even though iRacing was not fixed in time for the race on Wednesday.
Best case scenario for that, the old virtual rain delay, and I think I take a little bit of credit for that. I've always joked that there's no rain delays to worry about in iRacing, and we kind of came up with one there with all that happened on Wednesday. But looking forward to this coming Wednesday when the trucks will get their turn here at Darlington, and going to be interesting seeing Talladega be a playoff race there in the Truck Series. But one guy not having to worry about that and not having to worry about a whole lot, Dalton Tucker, and that's 73. That Mustang is just on a move, and that lead has grown once again now over James Holzer, but it's 3.5 seconds and growing quickly. So we're about halfway through this second stint.
Yeah, but once again, it's James Holzer. And so, and we were talking about how he had a horrible qualifying lap, started off in 18th, so way towards the back. And all of a sudden, he's up here in second. And he's not really challenging for the lead right now. Obviously, he's 3 seconds back. But just the fact that he's up in second after all this is insane.
It's amazing. You know, he's 16 spots gained in this race, all the way up from 18th. Just going to glance through the rest of the field, I don't think anybody's in double digits anymore in terms of positions gained, and he's near 20 spots gained. Just an amazing performance in Holzer. And if you're trying to place that paint scheme, that's a Kyle Petty paint scheme, a little bit of a spin off of one. It's a little bit of a play on the peak car that he had there way back when, but it's got those colors, a little bit of that same style. It's a little bit different, I think, possibly because of just the way that the cars look now. This one might have just pulled off a little bit better, but you know, you got that 42 car, you may as well go with something Kyle Petty based.
Yeah, and JP Designs is the one that designs all of his paint schemes, and they do a fantastic job every single week, and they've just done great for him, and he gives them a shout out every time he's up here in the booth, which is basically every week at this point. We have sent off for a specialized chair for him to sit in here in the booth. It has not arrived yet.
The way that Next Level's been running, we may as well just get a couch up here in the booth to get those team interviews going. But and speaking of, there they are again, sitting second, third, fourth, and sixth, with Holzer, Lacy going, and then Latham just a couple spots behind them, all of them within 10 seconds of the lead, as we still got 86 laps to go, 85 laps to go in this one. Still a lot of time for things to change, but only one caution thus far, and we've seen this field really kind of stretch itself out, especially out in front with Tucker still over 3 seconds clear a second.
Well, keep in mind that you know, we pitted 35 laps ago.
1 and 2. Got Dean Brummett spinning in turn 1 and no caution on the track.
And he's just going to stop on the track. Oh, he's going to go ahead and pull it into the pits. I think he'll be pretty much done for the night here. But I was just saying that without that caution, hey, we are 36 laps into this run. So we are getting pretty close on fuel and tires at this point to some green flag pit stops.
Getting very, very close. I think that's going to happen here possibly in the next handful of laps, because you're looking at about 40. You can give or take a few laps there, depending on how you save and your style. But you don't spend a whole lot of throttle time in here naturally on the track. So it's not like you're going to be saving a whole lot, because you're only on the throttle fully maybe about 50% of the lap. You're spending the entire turns kind of playing with the throttle a little bit. You really don't get on it fully until the very exit of these turns. So the chance to really save is limited around here. So I think we're going to be seeing these stops start in the next 5 laps or so, I would guess.
Yeah, and then it's just a matter of who pits when. And one thing that Next Level Motorsports has said on multiple occasions, a lot of times they pit on different strategies just so they can cover the entire field. And so don't be shocked to see them come in at different intervals just to kind of cover all the bases.
Very F1 inspired strategy there with the pit stops. When it comes to teams, just making sure that you maximize your team potential. And one thing to also keep an eye on this too is look at the math. We have 80 laps to go. You get about 40 laps on a run on average. If this thing stays green, we could be looking at now just 1 pit stop remaining in this race. As these guys have shown, they have a good ability to either conserve the tires or stick with them once they just absolutely get shredded around this track.
And that's what they are right now. They are completely shredded, but still everybody doing a great job, as Kyle Johnson, the first one into the pits on this green flag run.
And starting to hear some chatter on the driver channel as well. Looks like David Duke is going to be the next one to make a pit stop as he makes his way in. They're doing this very early. A lot of these guys starting to make their entrance into the pits, entering turn 3, and that is very smart. This is an incredibly difficult pit lane to get into. If you try to make it in between turns 3 and 4, it kind of sneaks up on you. It's also at a real difficult angle to pull off, so you want to make that move a little bit earlier than you naturally would at any other track.
And Dalton Tucker still leads this thing by 3 seconds as these pit stops are beginning. But nobody else just yet has taken that opportunity yet. I mean, is short pitting any good here at all?
In a sense, yes, but because of the position of these pit stops having to happen here with 80 laps to go, if you came in too early where it was really going to be that effective, you were essentially forcing yourself to need an additional pit stop before the end of this race should it go green the rest of the way. So I think naturally, yes, there's going to be a lot of guys that would have taken on the chance of needing an extra pit stop, but or at least just being a little bit slower and trying to stretch it out, I should say. But I think because of the threat of needing to make that additional pit stop, if you came in early, I think that took that out of the equation.
Well, Dalton Tucker just kind of biding his time right now, just kind of waiting because he's been out there for 42 laps as well. So is everybody else. So that 40-lap figure we had was obviously a little bit shorter than what is actually happening.
And there's always that plus or minus 3 to 5 laps, and we did have a couple caution laps as well. So that's going to extend that just a little bit as we're seeing more guys starting to make their way in. Craig Lautenschlager in the 13, and this is about that window where it makes sense to come in because you're going to have to make that one extra stop. This kind of breaks it up into a natural run of thirds
Landon Lacy.
From where we were, as Landon Lacy going to be the first of the leaders to make his way onto pit road, and he was one of those ones that went with the alternate strategy from the rest of the team last week where they were really covering that undercut that was happening at Pocono. He kind of went his own way as we see Bo Brady following him on the pit road, and now I think we're going to start seeing everybody make their way down.
And we'll see how long Dalton Tucker will keep it out there, as obviously he is struggling with tire wear just as much as everyone else is. He's just still been able to have that speed.
He's done a great job with the throttle control on this car. Is Timothy Latham going to be the next one of the leaders to make a pit stop? Behind him, we'll have Joshua Balliette and Reese Schaefer making their way onto pit road. So a lot of the top 10 guys making their time to figure that this is the right point here. Like I was just saying, you get to 120 laps to go when we had the restart. You can break this easily into thirds, 340-lap segments. It just makes a whole lot of sense to do it. As Latham now coming in, he might have actually just been slow.
I think he might have missed his pit.
Either that or he got loose trying to. It was just the end of the tire run for him, and he just got loose. But either way, very costly for Latham as he lost a lot of time. Emerson Ardon nearly missing pit road as he tried to come in a little bit late and almost overshot it. Kyle Benson onto pit road, and now the leader, Dalton Tucker, onto pit road as well.
So James Holzer will reassume the lead as he is battling with Bo Brady, who's on new tires now.
And on the exit of 2, you'll really see the difference. And Holzer's been one of the fastest guys, and you could already see before we cut away how much ground Bo Brady made up in turn 2, just because you can have that confidence on grip. And James Holzer leads the last lap, and he's going to come down pit road this time by. So he picks up that bonus point for leading a lap, which a little bit more important when we throw in the drop weeks than it seems when you just look at the natural point standings. So that was an important point for him, as Michael Politis, second place with how this sequence is going, is going to come in as well. And Max Service pitting also. So our top 3 on track that we're holding on, all making their pit stops about 2 laps behind Dalton Tucker.
Yeah, and Dalton's going to come right back out, and as this thing settles out, it should be Dalton Tucker back to the lead with Landon Lacy in second. Landon Lacy pitted 3 laps before Dalton Tucker, and he is still 2 seconds behind him. And so Dalton might be able to gain even more ground on the field.
Yeah, it's a 2-second difference, give or take a little bit there for between Tucker and Lacy. It was about 5 seconds before the pit stop, so you're looking at a good 1.5 2 seconds a lap is what I would assume would be the time differential between fresh tires and very worn tires around this track, and that does fit about right. There's going to be a little bit of difference there in the entry and exit onto pit road that might have made up a little bit of that time as well. But about 3 seconds gained in the process there for Landon Lacy.
And yeah, Dalton Tucker right now 2 seconds lead on Landon Lacy, so we'll see how that kind of sorts itself out here in about 5 or 10 laps. But just kind of going back through the field, I know John Honeycutt has not had his second pit stop yet, but he pitted back on lap 56, and so he still has another 20 laps of fuel and tires to be taking a look at. So he doesn't necessarily have to pit right now, but these cars are going to be faster than him as they come off these corners.
This is a real uncomfortable position, especially on this end of the racetrack that they're hitting right now in 1 and 2. And I think he just backed out there a little bit quicker than normal, because you can see Austin Reedy just blow by him going into turn 1, just trying to stay out of the way. Fresh tires to worn tires 20 laps into that run, you're looking at a good 5, 6, 8 miles an hour difference in turns 1 and 2, and as tight as that is, speaking of that, gets into the wall there for an extra Darlington stripe in turn 3. But in 1 and 2, when you have that little bit of speed difference, it kind of caught me, and apologized on Thursday to a couple guys, Rhett Tucker and Devin Zimmerman, that got caught up in something where I was just a little bit off pace, with a little bit of damage, and it was only a couple miles an hour different. But as tight as 1 and 2 is, to make any type of a pass is almost impossible, and that difference just massive getting around there. So fair play to John Honeycutt, kind of backing out there and not getting in the way there on that 3-car race for position.
Let's check in with Timothy Latham, who had that struggle either getting on pit road or maybe he got loose or whatever it was, but he is back here in 16th position now and trying to work his way back up as he's got Michael Politis right in front of him in the number 8 car.
Huge difference in position now for Timothy Latham. He was running in 6th last time we checked in before the pit stop, so lost 10 spots because of that error that happened. Thankfully for him, very comfortable in the point standings. So, a mistake, there's still a lot of time to build up in position as well. But a mistake here tonight, not going to be the most costly thing moving forward. Wasn't running for the win quite as much as some of the other guys, so you're not looking at bonus points being too affected either. So this one, bit of a mistake, bit of a pain there on that one in the moment, but in the long run, not the biggest deal here for Latham, who's been very strong.
Yep, as we head back up to the front just to check in on Dalton Tucker here, 3-second lead on Landon Lacy. So he's extended that out by a second, and he's going to keep on extending that out as Landon Lacy is about to have to contend with some lap traffic.
So difficult getting around lap traffic, and wow, that's a gaggle of them right there. 3 cars racing, all for position with themselves. So they're not inclined, and they don't necessarily have to give that leeway. And side by side, this is going to be a huge time hit in the interval towards the lead here, as he's going to have a real difficult time. You see, is that Bo Brady or Kyle? That's Kyle Johnson, similar paint schemes. Kyle Johnson in the 48 dipping down, giving that spot. Did not have to do that in that position, racing for position on track, even a lap down. So credit to him. Looks like Blair Holloman setting up to do similar here in a second. So once they got fanned out, I think they realized, all right, we can do this and just give up that spot. But for that little bit, they were all racing very tight with each other, and that's the last thing that Landon Lacy wanted to see.
Yeah, but that already, has set up a 1.25 second difference on the track between himself and Dalton Tucker. So Dalton just walking away with this thing, and I'm not seeing anybody directly in front of him right now. So he, again, can just keep extending this lead as Kyle Johnson, I'm showing him having wrecked, and he dives into the pits using that tow button, which is a classy move, actually. You don't want to stay out there on the track.
And we talk about that. For those not familiar, I know we got some people watching that might not necessarily do iRacing, but what happens when you hit that tow button, it will automatically move you into the pit stall. But the part of that hurts is it's going to take where you are on the track and give you a time penalty. So no repair can start. You're just basically sitting there like it's a red flag in your pit stall for around this track, anywhere between 1 and 2.5 minutes, give or take a little bit there, before any repair starts, before tires start, before you can leave that pit stall even. So it's a lengthy process to do that. It just ends your night effectively at most racetracks, and around here you're looking at 2 to 4 laps down in the process when you need repairs thrown in there. So when you do that toe, it is a very sacrificial thing, just trying to get out of the way, be respectful to everybody on the track, but it comes at a price.
Definitely, and that may just end his night completely there. But these top three really just they're kind of set in stone right now. I know Landon Lacy and James Holzer are kind of close together. Of course, they're teammates, so they should play nice, in theory. And not harm each other there, but they've got 7 seconds behind them and 6 seconds in front of them to get up to Dalton Tucker. So the way it's sitting right now, unless something happens out there on the track, I mean, your top three are going to be your top three.
Looks like a little bit of communication there may have gotten overlapped, as looked like Landon Lacy was going to give up that spot and let Holzer by, but they both went to the inside at first, so nearly a little bit sketchy. But this not too surprising. A few extra laps on the tires for Lacy compared to Holzer, and normally we don't talk about that being a big difference on the middle portion of the tire run, but around Darlington, as technical as the track is, as gritty as it is on the tires, you see Raul Meza getting real loose off the two. Just any amount of laps, 1 lap, 4 laps as this case is, anywhere between there, it will make a difference of a couple tenths a lap even, in just a small increment of laps difference on tires at any point out there.
We talked to Landon Lacy last week in his victory interview. He had a little bit of a different print strategy than the rest of his team, and we asked him about that, and he said, look, no disrespect to those guys, but at some point, it is going to turn into an individual race. It's going to turn into, okay, I mean, we got to go, and so we are fast approaching that point as we get into the playoffs where, I mean, all things considered, these 5 guys are all going to be in that playoff field, and at some point they're going to have to compete against each other for those spots.
And I think in the first round of the playoffs, I think we still see similar to what we're seeing here now, where they work together because they're going to have a lot of bonus points in their favor, especially Holzer and Lacy. They're going to have a lot of bonus points to help them get through that first 3 race round and into the round of 10. But I think once we get to that round of 10, that's where we might start seeing it become every man for himself just a little bit. And then once we get to the championship race, anybody from next level that's in that, definitely going to be every man for himself. So I think it's going to ramp up here as the playoffs go, and I was a little curious if there was going to be anything there, but I think Landon knows at this point in this run, James Holzer just that much faster. There was really no point in holding him up.
Yeah, I mean, Holzer's broken 2.5 seconds away from Lacy in just the 4 or 5 laps that we've been talking about it. So definitely with the faster car. As Dalton Tucker, though, says, no, my car's faster than everybody.
Yeah, that Mustang has just got some horses under it tonight. It has been on absolute rails getting around here. And we talk about everybody puts a Darlington stripe on that wall and on their car. Guess what I don't see on the car there for the 73? That thing looks clean still, as he has run a near perfect race to this point. I will always say to this point. I'm not going to throw anything else out there. But yeah, you're looking at a 5-second differential, about a tenth of a second quicker each lap right now for Holzer. By the time we get to the end of this tire run or fuel run, which is about another 20 laps or so away, you might look at 2 seconds being the difference. If that holds up, it's still going to be a 3-second differential between them.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to take something crazy to happen for Dalton Tucker to be caught right now at this pace. And again, Darlington, the lady in black does not like being teased like that. So maybe something will, but we will have to wait and see on that one, as Dalton Tucker does gain a little bit more time on Holzer right there.
Big time drop for James Holzer. Not sure what happened there, but Holzer lost about 1.5 seconds. And we see a little bit of, looks like some damage on the left. Oh,
he's got some damage. Yes, he does.
So he caught the wall pretty hard there at some point. And yeah, you can see it kind of pancake just a little bit on that right side. You see the right front tire is sticking out from the fender, and that's a big sign that he had a heavy hit against that wall. and that's going to get real tight around a track that's naturally tight to begin with, getting through the turns. It's loose on exit, but in the middle of those turns, it is so tight around this track.
Well, and he's got the same advantage that Dalton Tucker does right now, which he's got so much time on third and fourth, fifth place that it would take something special for those guys to eventually catch up to him, unless we get a caution or something to that effect. As you can see that Holzer, even with that damage, still, tenth and a half faster than Dalton Tucker.
I think that, and you're looking at that time, that's a 0.3 of a second drop for Tucker, so he might have had an issue there, at least had to back out and avoid something, maybe getting into lap traffic, but he had a significant drop as well, not nearly as much as 1.6 seconds, but a time hit there for Tucker, and wasn't really that much faster for Holzer. It was just a problem here for the leader.
Just kind of looking through the pack here. I know John Honeycutt just now pitting. He's kind of in that off-pit cycle there, but trying to look back through the pack. And Kyle,
wall contact for the leader.
And we were just talking about how beautiful that car was, and he does get his Darlington stripe, it looks like. So, man, everybody's struggling at some point in this race.
It's going to happen. There's no way that you go through a race without scraping that wall just a little bit. And they always call this the track too tough to tame, the Lady in Black. This track has so many nicknames, and it's earned the reputation of being one of, if not the hardest track on the NASCAR circuit, just because of how little room you have around here, how much you have to run the wall. And there's some guys that like running the wall, but this is a whole other animal when it comes to that. You think about Kansas hard hit there for Bo Brady right in front of Dalton Tucker. And this is a sketchy position on older tires side by side. Looks like Brady kind of backed out there and gave that room to make sure that Tucker, the race leader, did not have to do anything too crazy there going side by side exiting 2.
Yeah, and Tucker still has a 6-second lead on James Holzer back here. And again, we just got to kind of get to that point of, once we get to pit stops, what does James Holzer do? I think if you only have that optional damage, I think you have to just stay out there with what you got.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those deals where I think what he has, you're looking at probably about 20, 30 seconds of repair time. It's going to show up as optional. It won't be a required one where you have to have it done. But I don't think that's something you want to do under green flag. And at this point in the race, I don't think that's something you want to do under a caution either and lose all that track position, even though we've seen Holzer really work his way through the field. Just with the amount of limited laps left, I think he's kind of stuck with what he's got at this point.
And John Honeycutt does pass him on those brand new tires, and so you'll see him kind of step away. And you can see how different those tires are, where John just really gets a great run and just runs away on this backstretch.
That's a quick 1-2 second difference there. And a lot of it is out of turn 2 just because of the confidence you have on the fresher tires. Getting out of that turn and back onto the straightaway, you can get on the throttle a whole lot quicker. And again, on that in-car, you could see how much damage was on the right side for James Holzer. So that whole right front just pushed up. And you don't talk about aerodynamics a whole lot on tracks that aren't, 2 miles or maybe a mile and a half or over. But on this track, just because of how close you are to the wall, you want everything to be perfect as long as possible. And just that alone is going to make the rest of the race just feel a whole lot different than the first half of the race felt for Holzer.
Well, we are right there at that pit window now. Now, obviously, nobody's going to pit yet because they want to push this as long as they possibly can to give themselves plenty of room for a green-white checker if that happens. But we are inside that final pit window. So if someone wants to take a swing, I think it'd probably happen here in the next 5 or 6 laps.
Definitely agree with that. I think the first person that comes to mind is going to be one of these guys that's sitting maybe in that 5th, 6th on back. You're in that spot where you're thinking, all right, I can make this stop. I'm running the risk. You got to be in a pretty comfortable spot in the points, I think, to do that. So honestly, the first people that come to mind are some of the ones that really went for the strategy plays last week. And that kind of brings up, Tank Racing, some guys that did that last week. I'm looking at, Reese Schaefer, Seth Berger. They might be in a prime position to try this undercut, risk going those couple laps down on track at this point and really build up that time and possibly jump a few spots should the stay green throughout the pit sequence.
One guy that I'm looking at right now is Craig Lautenschlager, and because currently he's outside the cut, and so here he is in 6th place. Really, if he just keeps maintaining these positions where he's in the top 15 week after week after week, he's going to make it into the playoffs. And so the question for him is, do I take the risk and possibly move up a couple more spots and kind of solidify my spot there, or do I just kind of lay back here, and if I finish 6th to 10th, that's still where I need to be?
Most weeks, I think that's the perfect strategy. Just stay where you are. Just go with the leaders. You're in a good spot. You got 5 seconds behind you to the next car. If you get 6th, you're making a huge point gain. The big reason why I really like that this week, too, is next week is Talladega. That is an absolute grenade in the point standings every single time. You just know that big wreck is going to happen. And I think if that wasn't there, you might take a swing at it. But the risk is so heavy next week that you could just be riding around and all of a sudden everything breaks loose around you. You're caught up in it and you're losing a whole lot of points. Do you really want to risk doing that this week, making that early pit stop, trying to play the undercut as Timothy Latham is doing from 15th position? Do you want to run that risk this week, get caught, and lose all this ground you're making up while you're running in 6th? I think the smart play for Lautenschlager is stay with the leaders.
Well, Landon Lacy coming into the pits as well, so he's going to try to get that extra couple of laps with a little bit better time to move up. And again, a little bit of a different pit strategy between him and his teammates.
And again, I'll bring it up. That is very F1-like. We see half of the next level guys making their pit stop here on 107. The other half with Holzer and Gowen staying out a little bit longer and kind of covering in case there's a caution. They're still going to have some guys out there staying out in front, holding on to that team position that they have where they built up that huge lead and just really going with it on that front. So in F1, you have 2 cars. Here they've got 4 tonight as Craig Lautenschlager coming in. He's going to be the second from the top 5.
Yellow
and cautions
flag.
come out, and that is a perfect moment for Craig Lautenschlager because he was already on pit road.
Wow. That changes everything as Scott Healy, again, turned around on track, and it looked like he had some help. So let's go to just our third rec replay brought to you by Beer Street Journal. And as always, please drink responsibly. We're going to see what happened to last season's champion, and currently he's in the cut. So this doesn't kill him too badly here, but he just got into the wall. I mean, just flat got into the – oh, wow.
Oh. Hard impact there as he tried to recover it, and nowhere for Seth Berger to go in the 77, and that is a huge hit for him on the front end of that car. That could be a night ender for Seth Berger as well. It's nowhere he could go on that. As narrow as this track is, just a tough break for the 77, and definitely looked like, that car got loose after coming off the wall. Scott trying to save it and just hooked it right into the wall head on and back across that racetrack. Yeah,
we'll go in car, and you'll see exactly how much this wall affects him he just tries to save it. You could hear the tires squealing as he was just trying to get them back underneath him and just lost it.
The second he clipped the apron, it kicked him right back up the racetrack, and Seth Berger, the collateral damage in that one, and that might be the end of the night for him. I'm not sure. He's still running around there, but that's I don't know if he's going to be able to hang on to that car with as heavy as that damage was to the front.
We'll find out, but this changes absolutely everything, as looks like Bo Brady stays out just to, I think, probably get his lap back. James Holzer looks like he's going to come out in first here. So Dalton Tucker has some damage, and he's getting that damage repaired right now. So Dalton Tucker is going to lose that lead. And it's a lot of damage. He's been in there for 51 seconds, and so he is going to lose the lead, and James Holzer is going to assume that lead. So our points leader coming into this week, once again, and I mean, some people say that he's just got a horseshoe in his car or something like that, that this stuff just kind of falls into place for James Holzer, but I assure you, he practices so much that these opportunities present themselves.
He's going to lead. It looks like Tucker's going to fall to 9th. Wow, I'm shocked at that. And if something just felt that wrong in the car for Dalton Tucker, then I get it. But end of the day, that is a huge move. He's actually going to be in 8th position. He's going to have to make up those spots on a difficult track to make passes on, with only about 30 laps to go when we get restarted. And one thing also, away from the lead, but I want to follow up on this, we said it was a huge break for Craig Lautenschlager, making that, being on pit road when the caution came out. I think he just went through the pits, didn't make that stop, because he came back down this time, and he's still going to be 1 lap down.
Yep, correct. So he's going to be the first car a lap down. Another car that's a little bit interesting here. So Landon Lacy back in 13th position now. So he already had his pit stop, but still back in 13th. So because of the timing of everything, so he's going to have a difficult time. This just changed absolutely everything, but it changed nothing at all because James Holzer, our point leader, is going to take advantage.
Actually, think that Lacy might have been the lucky dog. I think he got put a lap down, got the lucky dog, and that's why he's still
You're probably
in the
correct,
13th spot. Bo Brady that we saw lead that lap, he's come in. He's going to be sitting in the 12th spot as we get lined up again. Quick cautions here at Darlington. Getting side by side, going to be a 33-lap shootout here in South Carolina, and it's a lot of next level guys up there, but we're seeing them scattered a little bit more than we're used to. It's going to be Holzer on the inside with Reedy on the outside, and then you're going to have Goen and Schaefer on row 2, Politis and Balliet in row 3 as we get them re-racked to have our 3rd restart of the night.
And keep an eye on Kyle Benson. Not Kyle Benson. Dalton Tucker up here in 8th. So he's going to restart in 8th. And so we will see if he can make up some spots here. But James Holzer, just like he usually does, gets a great restart. His teammate Nick Goen right behind him got that timing as well. And so they are going to be 1 and 2. We've seen this pretty much every week.
And normally I would say going into turn 1, you almost want to start on the outside here at Darlington. There's that little bit of urge, especially late in the race. But when you have in 3rd place one of your teammates, you have the ability to communicate and pull him into 2nd. On that restart, you absolutely take it, and that has worked out perfectly for Next Level. They're breaking away 1-2. Austin Reedy sitting in 3rd. Reese Schaefer just behind him with Joshua Balliet right behind him. So Reedy in the meat right now in that sandwich where it's 2 Next Levels in front, 2 tanks behind them.
I mean, just, again, another incredible performance by Next Level Motorsports, as they are up in 1st and 2nd. Now, Dalton Tucker restarted in 8th. He is already up to 5th, so he is not letting this thing go too quickly.
He made some quick moves there on that restart, but now this is where it's going to get real difficult. These are the guys in front of him that have shown really good pace all night long. Obviously not as much pace as Tucker, who's led, already clinched the bonus point for the most laps led by far. But it's going to be a lot harder to pass these guys in the top 4 than it has been the handful that he's made up since the restart.
And we're going to see if he can catch up to Reese Schaefer here in the 17 as Holzer has put about 0.4 of a second on his teammate Nick Goen, and they have started to kind of line themselves out. So we will keep an eye on that definitely. But Dalton Tucker not letting this thing go away.
And look at this, top 5 all within 0.8 of a second now as they're really getting thrown under a blanket here, especially 2nd to 5th. But again, there's so few passing opportunities around this track. You have to really set up everything a lap ahead of time unless somebody in front of you makes a mistake and you can take advantage. But it ain't going to happen here in 1 and 2, even on fresher tires. It's so hard to make a pass in this side of the track.
but he's doing a great job of it. Goes down to the inside of Reese Schaefer, and he is going to take that spot. Let's see if he can get back up in line. It looks like he will, coming off the turn, and now he's got Austin Reedy in front of him.
And this could get real interesting. If he gets into that second spot, if he can get away from Reedy, if he can get away from Goen, you have the cleanest car on the track after that little bit of damage was repaired against a car that has pretty heavy right side damage, both on the same tires, both on the same strategy at this point, and Tucker's been the fastest out there all night long. If he can get around these two, it might be a ticking time bomb until he catches and possibly passes Holzer for the win.
And he is setting up Austin Reedy right now, where he kind of steps out a little bit and then gets right back up on his bumper, and I believe he might take a shot at it on these next set of turns.
That's what he's trying to set up. Get the big run out of turn 2 and start to make that move to the inside. You have a little bit more room to do it here, and there it is.
There it goes.
Looking on the inside. Maybe made Reedy make a little bit of a mistake there. Just it's so hard to hold on to that on the outside wall, knowing you can't drift it back down. Kind of puts that little bit of pressure there, and Tucker making the most of that advantage he had. That big momentum push into turn 3, makes that pass, running half on the apron, half on the banking.
Now, as he was making that pass, he lost some time to James Holzer, but you can see here when he is not trying to make the pass that he is right on par with him. And so if he can get past this 88, which again, he's starting to get right up onto him, and the 88 gets super loose off that turn, and so this might be his moment.
See if he can get that run once again here through 1 and 2, where he's just been so fast through this set of turns. And there it is, that big momentum push through 2. He's going to get close. I don't know if he's close enough this time, but it might be next time by. He'll have that shot in turn 3 as he's really starting to close in on that bumper.
I mean, this just shows the difference because there are a lot of cars in other series that basically they would try to push the issue. They would try to dive bomb. They would try to take a deep dive into the corner just to try to get this spot. And Dalton has done such a good job with just being patient, just waiting for things to develop and setting up his passes. And that's really what he's been doing this entire time as Nick Goen kind of gets a little bit away from him right now. But you can see when he tries to make that pass that he sets it up 2 corners beforehand.
That's exactly what you have to do around here. You can try to force a pass quickly, but the odds of it working and the odds of it working clean are slim to none, especially in turns 1 and 2. You can kind of get away with it in 3 and 4 a little bit more because you have maybe an extra lane to work with. But if you can spend that little extra time, that 1 lap and a half, to really set up the move, build your momentum, and really kind of rush into turn 3 especially, where you can really use that extra momentum. If you're close enough, you can dive it in a good bit deeper. It's going to be nearly impossible to defend if you get that good run into the turn. I mean, you can force it, and it's probably not going to work, or you can just have that patience. And Dalton Tucker showing a great amount of patience here, knowing that there's not as many laps to go as he would probably like. So that patience is difficult to have, but he's been doing a great job about it.
Yeah, now while all this is going on, James Holzer has clean air in front of him, and he is just going lap after lap and just kind of gaining a few hundredths of a second here or there. And if he continues to do that, it's going to make it extremely tough on Tucker if he can get past Goen.
And that's the big part of it now is Tucker has to get by Nick Goen. And I'm not going to say that Goen's going to be blocking or anything like that, but he's going to be making it very difficult on a track where it's already difficult to make a pass. So I think at this point, Holzer is loving the fact that he's got a teammate behind him, because it's, like I just said, it's hard to get around anybody on this track. And if you got a teammate helping you out there and trying to give you that little extra buffer, it just makes it nearly impossible to really make a good pass here and do it without losing a lot of time.
Yeah, another person that I want to kind of zoom in on for just a second, Michael Politis here, back here in the 8. He is up in 9th position. Again, another independent driver who is currently outside the cut. So this is going to be huge for his opportunities to possibly sneak into the cut at some point. I'll tell you that it is still going to be a long road for him. He's currently, including drop weeks, He's currently 21 points outside the cut. But if he gets these top 15 finishes and just can start moving up little by little, then he could potentially sneak his way in.
And this is one of those guys that, it was a bit of a rough start to the season in the first 8 weeks, but really just has been getting better and better each week. You can see him getting more comfortable out on the track, and that's one of those things that's tough to do as an independent. The handful of races I've done that were outside of my natural league, you run as an independent in that, but it's just, you just don't have that extra communication. You don't have that little bit of extra encouragement that the team can give you in the Discord channel and all that. So to do it by yourself, real difficult to do. So good on him for kind of getting that comfort zone up and really getting better as the season has gone on. But we also got a pass going and just happened for third place, kind of going back there. Austin Reedy has made his way back around Dalton Tucker. And so Tucker's push to gain as many positions might have caught up to him in tire wear.
Yeah, as Austin Reedy just gets a really, really good run and is starting to kind of pull away a little bit. So right now, with 16 laps to go, can anybody catch James Holzer or Nick Gowen? I just don't think there's enough time under green flag conditions.
I'm with you on that. And speaking of, we got one around in the turn, and it's actually Michael Politis. Michael Politis, we were just talking about him, got turned in 1 and 2. And
oh boy, hold everything, because now who's going to be pitting?
You know what? I think everybody.
I think everybody.
You got to do it. Tires are such a commodity around this track. They're so important. 15 green flag laps. I don't see a reason nobody would stay out unless you're trying to go for the Hail Mary, but you're just going to go into the back pretty quickly as we check our Beer Street Journal rec replay for the third time tonight. As Politis going around, and Max Service had a huge run and just washed up the track, maybe had a little bit too much momentum, and caught the left rear of Politis and turned him into the wall. Tough break for Michael. He's had a real good run tonight, real solid top 10 run all night long.
You can see the distance here between these two, and
yeah, it's either Service had too much of a run or Politis just did not like his entry and kind of backed off a little bit more. I think the telltale is going to be the 13 in front of him and see how the distance is. And it might have just been a problem for Michael Politis, actually, because he really backed up against the 13.
And so he goes spin and brings out the caution here. And, yep, everybody coming down into pit road now. And one thing that James Holzer has to contend with is the fact that he has that pit stall, that pit stall that's back in 18th spot. And so some of these cars up towards the front have a little bit of a better pit stall, and that might help them.
It's going to be a huge moment here as everybody taking off, and it might be Landon Lacy.
Took right sides only on that, so swinging for the fence, and now we've got Landon Lacy, James Holzer, and Nick Gowen. Dalton Tucker's going to come out in fourth, but again, he was making such good inroads on that restart that I think now that we have fresh tires and only 14 laps to go, he might still have a shot at this thing after leading most of the race.
Oh, this is going to be wild now, because now you have 3 next level cars sitting 1, 2, 3. They're going to control the front row and the inside of row 2. Outside row 2 is going to be Dalton Tucker, who did have that tremendous restart last time, picking up those handful of spots immediately. But in front of them, those 2 next level cars on the front row, they're going to have the communication. Nick Gowen in third is going to have the benefit of being able to time it off Landon Lacy if he chooses the inside. This is a huge advantage for the next level drivers. But the big question is going to be right side tires for Landon Lacy. How well is that going to work? And Xfinity cars handle a whole lot different than Cup cars. But one of the things I practiced this week was, just in case we have a situation like this, how would right side tires work? Would it be worth going with the right sides only? And I kind of tested at 10, 15, and 20 laps just to see how different things felt. And about 15 laps in, it got real squirrely. It just wanted to feel like it was on complete ice for a handful of laps until those tires kind of leveled off a little bit. This might be real touchy here for Landon Lacy taking this shot.
Yeah, but with 13 laps to go, and with him falling behind his teammate, and also two of his teammates actually. So I mean, he had no choice. And again, he's told us before. Look, I love the team aspect, and obviously their team is 1, 2, 3 right now, and they are sitting in prime position to get that #1 seed and that bye through the first round and everything. But he is looking for that individual championship also. So he has no qualms at all about going out there and swinging for the fence.
And you got to do that. I mean, and we were talking about how if you look at the natural point standings, it's a big lead, nearly a full race in the advantage for James Holzer. But you add in those drop weeks where Landon Lacy has a couple races with 0 points just because of being late onto the season, coming up from Xfinity, and it's real tight. In fact, Landon Lacy has a little bit of an advantage. At this point, you got to start thinking, all right, yeah, team, it's great. We need to be sticking it together as a team, but at some point late in these races, it has to be every man for himself.
Yeah, and we are definitely at that point, as we are going to see, it looks like Landon Lacy is going to take the inside, and so he is going to get the push from his teammate Nick Gowen, while James Holzer is going to have to contend with Dalton Tucker. But this could be it, Brandon. This could be the final restart of the race as Landon Lacy takes off, gets a great restart, and they are going to be 1, 2, 3 for Next Level Motorsports as James Holzer and Nick Gowen are still side by side here. Dalton Tucker has to find a way around, and he does as Nick Gowen goes spinning.
Nice save from Nick Gowen. He's going to lose a whole lot of position on track. You already see him back down to 12th, 13th, 14th position for Nick Gowen for that slide, but amazing job keeping that thing going forward. But in front, James Holzer does get by the two-tire strategy of Landon Lacy. Dalton Tucker going to try to make his way around, and it should not take a whole lot. Maybe in the next lap, we'll see Dalton Tucker in second just because of the speed difference and the comfort getting around this track.
But then the next question is, can he catch James Holzer? And again, just that little bit of space that he has there, about half a second, that might be enough for him to not be able to catch him. But he's going to go down to the inside, try to make this move on Landon Lacy. Not going to be able to clear this turn. Coming across the start-finish line with 9 to go.
And we're going to get real tight here in 1 and 2, and Dalton just has that much more confidence in the tires to drive it in a little bit deeper, and does so, and will get clear, and now the race is on. He's got about 9/10 of a second to make up here in the final 8.5 laps around Darlington. It's possible, and with the pace that he showed earlier and having the cleaner car damage-wise, I would not rule out that Tucker's still very much alive in this race.
Yeah, Lacy holding off Austin Reedy here for 3rd place currently, and we thought that maybe Austin Reedy could help push Dalton Tucker forward, but that's not going to be possible right now as he backs out so Lacy doesn't get into him. So, but I think Reedy eventually will pass Lacy. It's just a matter of when.
I was thinking it might have happened there, but Reedy not being too aggressive.
Reedy into the wall.
Yeah, he caught the wall, trying to be aggressive later than I think he intended to be. I think he saw the pace difference in 3 and 4 and thought I can still make this work, and just drove it in a little too deep. But up in front there, a second ahead of that race, is Dalton Tucker trying to make that gap smaller, but is not doing so. It's only changed about 100th a second a lap, and it's actually been in the favor of Holzer.
And Holzer just maintaining that lead, and that's really all he has to do because just like we've said all night, even if Tucker catches him, he's got to figure out a way to get past him. So again, Holzer just kind of had this race put into his lap when Tucker had to repair a bunch of damage, about 50 seconds of damage. Otherwise, this might have been a completely different race.
And that's something I'm wondering, too, is if it was required damage. Sometimes iRacing just says, hey, you need to fix this, and we're not going to give you that option, even if it doesn't seem like you need to. Or if that was a choice that Dalton Tucker made, and if that was a choice, dude, we got trouble out of turn 4. We got one sideways. Reese Schaefer turning back up the track. We might have a caution.
Still green.
Wow.
So, wow, we saw a caution come out for a lot less than that earlier, but Reese Schaefer goes sideways, but we stay green on the track. And
now
there it is.
Joshua Ballietta round out of turn 2, and that brings out the caution. And this is exactly what Dalton Tucker needed. And look behind. And third is David Duke, who's moved up to the third position. Fourth is Landon Lacy. Is Holzer going to want to take the outside and get pushed by a teammate on 2 tires? Not too sure about that call. So Dalton Tucker might have the benefit of no next-level teammates working together on this final restart as we check out our 4th Beer Street Journal Rec replay of the night. And this one has really made this race interesting.
Well, actually, we said it was Reedy Schaefer. It was actually Landon Lacy that came down off the wall, and then that's how David Duke got past Landon Lacy and Reedy Schaefer there. So we'll go back, we'll rewind it just a touch and show that one more time as looked like Austin Reedy was trying to make that move. Landon Lacy, you were saying, was on ice skates into the wall, came down, probably touched Austin Reedy there a little bit. And then it looked like Reedy Schaefer kind of got touched by the number 10 of Kyle Benson. Now, a little bit later on, we had Joshua Balliette down there on the inside, and we'll see what happened with him. And he was, oh, wow, big hit there between him and Bo Brady.
And that's the fear in turn 2. It's so hard to make a pass side by side. But when that turn just wants to kick you directly into the wall, and watch Bo Brady, he's on the outside here. He's got a great run, but all of a sudden, bam! And there might have been some net code there actually too, where I think at the iRacing server was expecting some contact between the 7 and the 19. Because watch how the 19 just takes off straight into that wall, a lot more than natural. And yeah, there's definite contact there, or net code there possibly between those two, and that kind of sparked that. We'll take a closer look. See if contact was actually made or if it was political net code, and no, the definite contact.
Yeah, there's definitely something there. So so those two are going to be severely damaged. So leaders deciding not to pit, and so which I mean, yeah, with going to basically green white checker, of course you're not going to pit. So so James Holzer is going to have the lead on the restart, but Dalton Tucker is going to have that preferred out. Well, no, he's not. James Holzer has the choice between inside or outside. So so Dalton Tucker will get the other choice, but he's got a shot to win this thing.
Huge shot here for Dalton Tucker, especially with the way he's had these restarts. James Holzer has been very good on restarts himself. The only thing is I'm not sure what line Holzer wants to take. He's going to be in a real interesting spot. He's not going to have any teammate behind him, as it's going to be Duke and Reedy on the on row 2. So that'll be a little bit different. But I'm not sure what line he wants to take. It's going to come down to comfort. Does he want to be on the outside if Tucker hangs with him? And Tucker's shown that he's able to stick with the race leader when it comes to starts and restarts. He's done a great job on that. So this is a tough call here for James Holzer on where he wants to start. And it's just going to come down to comfort for him.
Well, we're waiting until we get to 1 to green here, which should be this time around. So and we will get that decision made. It looks like he is going to choose the outside as we come to the 1 to green signal, and the pace lights will go out. So running through our top 10 here really quickly, we've got James Holzer up here in first. Right now, Dalton Tucker in second. Austin Reedy actually is in fourth. David Duke is in third. Austin Reedy is in fourth. Then we got Kyle Benson in fifth. Michael Politis in sixth. Then we have the 10 of Kyle Benson in no, I'm sorry. Wow, they get shuffled up. So Craig Lautenschlager in seventh. It looks like Max Service is in eighth, Nick Gowen in ninth, and then Reedy Schaefer in 10th. So that is your top 10 as we're about to go green.
And you know what? All 10 of those drivers, they still have a shot. Just how wild Darlington can be. We're going to be super aggressive out here on turns 1 and 2 on this restart. If we get side by side, nobody's going to give an inch. I wouldn't count anybody out of this race if they're on the lead lap.
Yeah, 15 cars on the lead lap right now, including Landon Lacy, who came in, got tires, and got repairs done as well. But we are back to green. Dalton Tucker in second. James Holzer gets a great restart on the top side, and so he is going to start to break away a little bit here as David Duke gives a push to Dalton Tucker.
And Holzer, the first split second he was able to take that restart, he took it and jumped as quickly as possible, and that is the difference now. A third of a second, the gap. They're getting real sideways there on the back straightaway. So far, holding it together, and James Holzer is going to love seeing that in the rearview mirror as Craig Lautenschlager into the wall in 3 and 4. He's going to make contact with Nick Gowen, though. They're still going to keep it straight, though, turning in turn 4, but they're going to take the white flag.
I thought there might be a yellow there.
Carnage,
David Duke. So much stuff going on there. David Duke really hurt on that one. So James Holzer, though, is coming around, taking turns 3 and 4. Landon Lacy now crashing.
Went for the Larson line there for Dalton Tucker, but it's not going to be enough.
James Holzer is going to take this victory here at the Throwback 185. Dalton Tucker in second, Austin Reedy in third, Nick Gowen fourth, and Timothy Latham ending exactly where he started in fifth.
What a wild final, I'll say mile and a half around this 1 1/3 mile track. Once they came out of turn 4, everything just broke loose entirely, and we're taking a look back from David Duke's camera on board, and Austin Reedy just gets a little bit sideways there, and that kind of stacked everybody up. And at this point in the race, nobody is slowing up and lifting. And you can see Landon Lacy hard hits multiple times there. Raul Meza threading the needle from the back of the pack, but David Duke, the one really hurt on that one, falling back from the fourth position. But nothing he could really do on that one. Yeah,
we had talked a little bit earlier about Raul Meza and how he was back in 26th place to start the thing off, and he was just kind of waited out. Well, he ended up in 18th, and so he gained 8 spots by just kind of chilling out in the back. But James Holzer going to take this victory. This is his 3rd victory on the season.
Matching his teammate Landon Lacy, who one of the drivers that got caught up in that final or near final lap wreck. And this is going to be big in those point standings, as Lacy actually going to finish in the 14th position, it looks like. So James Holzer in the natural point standings, and when the drop weeks are factored in, likely to be the points leader going into Talladega next week, where who knows what we're going to see.
Well, let's go through this top 18 to 20-ish. So James Holzer there in first for Next Level Motorsports. Dalton Tucker for Rev Racing, who led a ton of this race, but had to get some damage repaired. Ended up in second. Austin Reedy for Murray Reedy Smith Road Racing there in third. Nick Gowen from Next Level Motorsports in fourth. Timothy Latham from Next Level Motorsports there in fifth.
Next 5 drivers all started well outside of the top 10. Michael Politis finishing 6th after starting 19th. Seth Berger started 13th and finished 7th. Blair Holloman started 25th and finished in the 8th spot. Scott Kalal up from 22nd to 9th. And Craig Lautenschlager got his lap back after that pit confusion there when the caution came out, and finishes in the 10th position.
Reese Schaefer there in 11th for Tank Racing. Max Service also from Tank Racing in 12th. David Duke from R&D Motorsports in 13th. Landon Lacy from Next Level Motorsports falling down a little bit this week. He's in 14th there. And Kyle Benson for Murray Reedy Smith Road Racing in 15th.
And rounding out the top 20 in 16th place, 1 lap down, Joshua Siegfried. 17th, also a lap down, John Honeycutt. Raul Meza, mentioned him, 18th place, only driver 2 laps down. 4 laps down and 19th for Bo Brady, being caught up in that final caution that brought up the green-white checker. And then Joshua Balliet, the other driver involved in that one, in 20th.
Well, let's see if we can't get some of these guys up here, and we'll try to get Austin Reedy up into the booth right now with us. Austin, great race, great finish, man. 3rd place after all the carnage that was there in the last 10 laps or so. Tell us what you saw out there.
Yeah, before I comment on the race, I just want to give remembrance to all the 9/11 victims, all 3,000, all the firefighters, police officers, everybody that showed up to that. It's a big tragedy. I cannot believe it's actually 20 years ago. I was 4 years old when that happened, so never forget that, and I'll never forget who did it. So I'd like to have my race, I don't know what the word for it is, dedicated to that, to all those 9/11 guys out there.
Well, definitely thank you for doing that, and definitely a horrible day, but also a day that kind of brought the country together a little bit, and so always trying to see the positive out of the most negative things, but here tonight, just kind of where you had an opportunity here at the end. I saw a lot of stuff going on there on the last lap. Tell us what happened there.
Yeah, we had a chance to get a top 3. Caution came out, I think like 20 or something to go, and I think I got in the back of Lacy, and I just touched him too much. I didn't want to put him in the wall or anything. I just wanted to kind of get close enough to him because I knew he only took right sides, and I know I could finesse that inside. I just touched him and kind of got him out of shape and got myself loose. Even lost myself a spot on that one. And fortunately, the caution came out. But coming to the last lap, coming to turn 3, we had David Duke in front of us there, and he kind of blew the corner, I felt like, where he was a little bit slower. So I just sent it, I had all I had, and got into the wall, blocked him a little bit coming out, and I mean, you got to do what you got to do. It's Darlington. It's kind of short track racing, so.
And that's something we were talking about up here. At that point, green, white checker, nobody's lifting. It's going to be just fighting for that end there. And one thing I do want to say, you kind of had a hand in helping break a little bit of the broadcast curse. I picked you here tonight. You got that top 3, and just continuing to build good momentum here as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. And that's coming up here pretty quick. How do you feel about everything as we get closer to playoff time?
Feel all right, I guess. I mean, getting 4 podiums, kind of. I would rather have 1 win than 4 podiums, but I feel like that'll come in the end here sometime. I feel like it's destined. I mean, I've been so close so many times, and I think tonight I even outperformed what I thought I could do. I mean, I was kind of running down late in the runs, Lacy and Goins' times, and they were, during practice, were 4 tenths quicker than me, so I think I impressed myself tonight, but I don't know. Hopefully we just slide in these playoffs. We get into that top 5, get into that final race, and I think the way we're going right now, I think we can get it done.
Well, buddy, is there anybody that you'd like to thank tonight before we let you get back down to celebrating?
Yeah, Reedy team, everybody down there. Scott, I know we had a tough race. Kyle, I know we got kind of screwed on my end at the end there. John, Craig, they put in the time and the effort every week, trying to get better every week, so I appreciate that. They're always good attitudes. Love racing them guys. MTC Sports, if they're more in the Cape, the foundation we got on us with the kids with the cancer. So another $15, or what would it be? Or 15 or 30 tonight?
15, yeah, 15.
Okay, 15. So I think we're up to like 75 now. So I'm so proud of doing that. So just can't wait for next week.
Man, well, great job on that, and also great job in the race here tonight. And we'll get you back down to your team there, but we will see you next week at Talladega.
All right. See you guys.
All right, buddy. All right, Austin Reedy with our third place finish. Let's see if we can't get Dalton Tucker in here and find out kind of what happened with his race. I mean, he ran such a beautiful race the entire time. Dalton Tucker up here with Sean and Brandon in the booth, man. How's it going?
Pretty good, man.
Man, you had the lead there for a lot of that race, and then we noticed that you stopped, and I guess you had some required repairs?
I had 45 seconds or so of just optional, and I was like, that's a little too much to be grouped up with everybody, so I wanted to fix that, and honestly didn't think it was going to set me back that far with how spaced out everybody was when they came into pit, but it is what it is.
Well, even after that, you made a just tremendous run back through the field and nearly worked your way all the way back up to the front there, and only really about 30 laps to go, about 20 when you just look at the green flag laps. How was that working your way through and nearly pulling off? Just an absolute stunner there, just coming back from around 10th place there late.
It was fun. It's a handful. It's loose, and when you get real close behind someone, it gets real tight, and I think I just burned up my tires right then and started wearing off, so I let people go, and I got lucky with another caution towards the end, and it was fun. It's not what I wanted to do. much rather would have gone green from whenever the long green flag we had a decent sized lead built up, and I hated to see the caution, but it made the racing a lot more fun.
Well, man, I know this week we're here at what I consider one of the shortest tracks on the schedule, and one of the most difficult tracks. But now next week we head to Talladega, which isn't the most difficult track to drive, but is typically the most difficult to finish. What are you thinking going into that race?
I don't really know where the safe place would be. Maybe up front or in the back. If I qualify good, maybe try to stay up front. If I don't qualify good, maybe just hang out in the back until the end and hope for some cautions to bunch everybody back up.
Well, buddy, is there anybody you'd like to thank before we get you back down to your team?
Just thanks my team, Rev'd Racing, and Adam for bringing me on this year. It's been a rocky season compared to, I guess, how I normally run, but it's been a good year. Just some bumps in the road, and just appreciate him and everybody else for racing with us, and appreciate you guys in the booth.
Well, thank you so much for that, and definitely we will see you next week at Talladega as you try to make it one position better.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, buddy. Take care. All right, and let's see if we can't get our winner up here, and somebody that obviously needs no introduction at this point, and he is so used to being up here in the booth, it's kind of his comfortable place. But James Holzer, congratulations on your third win of the season.
All I gotta say is, wow, what a race! I was not expecting to be up here talking to you tonight, to be honest, after everything that went down tonight.
Hey, it was a wild one, especially near the end, and we saw you work your way through, and I mean, starting 18th place and just picking them off, and before we knew it, 30 laps in, you're sitting there in the top 5, and just kind of kept inching your way forward until you took that lead late. How was working your way through that field on as narrow a track as Darlington is?
Yeah, it's tough. We were really just trying to be patient and manage the tires, and after we had that first round of pit stops, or right when that caution was at lap 26, I actually had better tires than my teammates, even still coming through the pack. So I knew my pace was good, and was just trying to keep the car as clean as possible. Almost got absolutely wiped out. I don't know if you guys got on the broadcast or not, when Emerson got the wall in the middle of 1 and 2, and it like snapped him back up, and I had to slam the brakes, and got the right front end of the wall, had about 30 seconds of damage or so. That lost us a bunch of time. I was just trying to do something different than Dalton, because he was good on the short, middle, and long run. He definitely had the car to beat tonight. But yeah, we reeled it into about 3 seconds or so, and we were about 4 seconds once we like kind of single filed out. So we were a little bit faster, but we pushed our tires, and it was going to be really hard to gain. And I didn't want a short pit because of a caution, and it's exactly what happened. And he had damage, I know, from hitting the wall at a point, and it must have been too much for him to think that it would affect him too much. So he decided to fix it and lost the lead, and there was no turning back from there. We just tried to do our best. Landon taking 2 tires threw a monkey in the wrench because I was afraid to get stuck behind him, but we got around him well there. And then we got that caution at the very end, and I'm like, wow, Dalton's starting right next to me. I don't know what to do. I know he's really good on the short run, and none of us really probably practiced, firing off on, 10-lap old tires or however many lap old tires we were on there, and didn't want to pit because it was going to be calamity if we pit, and it was going to be a wreck, and there ended up being one. So did our best there, and we were able to hold him off. He tried the Larson line I've seen in 3 and 4, didn't quite work, but yeah, shout out to him though. He had a heck of a night and really deserved the win. Sometimes it just doesn't go your way. And tonight it definitely went ours.
Well, man, I know you've got a JP Designs design on your car here tonight for Throwback Week, and I know they're one of your sponsors. Who else did you have to thank here tonight?
Yeah, got to thank you guys up in the booth as always for doing a great job. Always fun going back and rewatching the races. Thank everybody from SRN as a whole, putting together a great league. And last night, having a part in that foundation race was fantastic, and that was a great race too. So it's been an all-around great week for SRN. Not even from a racing standpoint, but just coming together, over this weekend where it's about, having unity and being together and, as a group getting better. And I feel that we do that week in and week out. But yeah, just got to thank all the guys on the car. JP Designs, reach out to him if you want a scheme. $5 a scheme. He does some package deals as well. Makes some awesome cars. This Throwback car, I gave him a loop this week because Kyle Petty, it's actually a Busch Series paint design that he ran, and it's a very hard scheme to find because he only ran a few races with it, and photography wasn't as big, at the time whenever he was running the Pontiac then. So he really did an awesome job on the paint scheme there. I got to thank Extreme Sim Racing, Laurel Auto Group, Raise Energy for being on the car as well, as they're all a big part in what happens week in and week out.
All right, man. Well, great job here tonight once again. And if you're looking on your screen right now, you will see that we are putting up that third winner sticker next to your name. So now you are tied with your teammate Landon Lacy for 3 wins. And so we will see you next week at Talladega.
Yeah, sounds good. It was awesome to have all that practice last week. I know Landon and I are going to have a decent advantage. I mean, I know people will be practicing all week, but we got a really good grasp on what this package is going to entail, because it did change from when we all ran it last time at Daytona. It's similar, but there's a lot of differences in it, and the way you have to actually pass. So it's going to be good to see what we can do, and hopefully we can keep the car up front.
Sounds good, man. Well, we will see you next week.
Thank you, Sean.
All right. And Brandon, I mean, another great race here tonight. But like I said, next week we are going to Sweet Home Talladega for the Sweet Home of Talladega 185.
I was wondering what the name of that was going to be, actually, and I like that one. So, yeah, going to Talladega, I much prefer that as opposed to Sweet Home Alabama. That's a song I just, as an LSU fan, never want to hear. Yeah, looking forward to Talladega next week. I always say that is the grenade in the point standings, and you just never know what you're going to get. We saw it at Daytona with all 3 series, just a wild finish in all of them. It seemed like no strategy was really the winning strategy. It was just who was there in the end. But man, just Talladega this close to the cut time before the playoffs, that is going to be wild.
Yeah, it is going to be a really, really great race. Nice long distance there, and so we'll see that one. But like we said before, our Week 9 for the Truck Series was kind of rained out. So your broadcaster's curse is getting stronger and stronger, my friend. But we will be heading to Darlington this Wednesday for the Throwback 125 for the Truck Series.
And definitely looking forward to that. We saw a great race tonight. A whole lot of interesting issues that happened there in the end with a couple late cautions, really throwing things into a mixer at the end, but a lot of green flag racing. We saw that in the Xfinity Series too, just some long green flag runs. Hopefully the trucks can get to that. I know that's been a struggle the past couple weeks with some tough tracks, but hopefully we have similar to what we saw last season at Darlington and what we've seen this week here. And as always, get to see the awesome throwbacks when it comes to Darlington for SRN.
Well, man, as always, I hope everybody joins us for those races. And like we always say here at Speed Racing Network, thank you to everybody for everybody that's made this possible, the drivers, the sponsors, the admins, you, Brandon. We appreciate everybody that has helped us along this way. And as always, just remember to go faster.